The pair seem to be on the same page, Biden and Macron. Things look like they've gone well.
Yes, and I think this is not surprising. Why? Because what's always important in any major international event, when we can have them, and we haven't been able to have them because of the COVID pandemic for about 16 months now, so this first in-person G7 meeting in 2 years, bilaterals are always important, the chemistry, the face-to-face. And what is important also is communication. And the fact that the French president speaks fluent English is obviously much more helpful because it doesn't have to go through interpreters. But it's not just the language, the linguistics, it's the thinking. When was the last time you heard an American president turning to a French president saying, "We're on the same page"? I don't remember ever hearing that. But of course, France is the United States' oldest ally. But clearly the two men and the two leaders appreciate each other, respect each other, and are building that trust between each other. And I think it's very significant that the French president thanked the president, the US president, on his first overseas trip, having the bilateral, for having the meeting. And clearly the meeting went very well. They talked about climate change. They talked about China, and we know that the US feels very strongly about forced labor, and that the EU and France feel very strongly about what is happening in Xinjiang province and the Uyghur Muslims. And that word cooperation and partnership, and when President Macron talks about, I think it's great to have a US president very willing to cooperate, and I think that what you demonstrated is that leadership is partnership. That bodes well for this relationship, and indeed with the cooperation that is supposed to be the master word for this G7. Unity over COVID, dealing with the health fallout, dealing with the economic fallout, and also the urgency, of course, of climate change, the urgency of talking about a united front with Russia, also with China. So this does bode well, and we'll have to see how they build on this. And of course, it bodes well for the NATO summit on Monday that the US president, the French president, will be attending.
I mean, Bénédicte, as you say, the buzzwords coming out of this summit have been certainly unity, cooperation. That's clear from the Biden-Macron meeting. One thing Biden said was how supportive the US is of the European Union. I'd like to think a little bit about EU-UK relationships because, of course, we know owing to COVID and, of course, Brexit, things have been pretty rocky between the EU and the UK. What kind of messages are coming out about that relationship, if you will, from this G7 summit?
Well, I think the master word is we need to keep monitoring and watching, but it does not bode well. That was the first bilateral of the day for the French president. He started by meeting the UK Prime Minister, of course the UK that is the host country, the UK that is in a post-Brexit world and that is trying to project what it means by global Britain. And that meeting, of course, Northern Ireland came up, and initially what came out on the French side was that it was absolutely crucial that the UK respect the deal that it signed on Brexit over the Northern Ireland question and these regulatory checks that are not going well between Britain and Northern Ireland. From the British side, the readout of that was, well, all sides need to compromise, all sides need to be flexible. But that is not the French position, clearly. That has been made crystal clear by the French president, and nor is it the other EU countries' position, a very united EU here saying it's not about negotiation anymore, it's about implementation. And then a real escalation of the tone of the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson at the risk of really going for, some are talking about a trade war, not here but outside this summit. What we've got at the moment is tension really ratcheting up because the British Prime Minister told British media that he was, quote, prepared to suspend the Northern Ireland Protocol because they're not willing to agree to full implementation. They think that the EU is being purist, is one of their words in the last 3 days, about the implementation. So are we heading for a real trade confrontation? And then when you get a comment from a British Prime Minister saying they, the EU, need to get it into their heads that Northern Ireland is part of the encompassing territory of the United Kingdom, well, that was true before Brexit deal was signed, and it's still true afterwards, clearly in the values and the voice of London. So I think there is real ratcheting up of the tension, and I should say that that comment was made after Johnson met Mrs von der Leyen, the EU Commission President, and Charles Michel, the EU Council President. So it was predicted that this might overshadow the summit. It's not the case yet, but the temperature is rising, and I'm not just talking about the blue sky you see behind me and the boats.
All right, Bénédicte, on that note of temperatures rising, following those events for us, day 2, of course, of day 3 of that G7 summit. Bénédicte now in Falmouth for us. Thank you.